When you talk about creating wealth, most people think about how many dollars they have in the bank. And these dollars are really electronic numbers. I mean, I don't know about you, but for me, banking is getting online, logging into my account, and just looking at digital numbers.
Yes.
Back and forth, back and forth. And I want your take on this. Have we forgotten what it is like to hold something in our hands physically, like a dollar coin, which you incidentally have got here to show us?
This is your 1 ounce silver eagle. Back in the early 70s. Before that, you could actually redeem your dollar notes pretty much throughout the world. It used to say on your dollar notes, and here in Australia on our pounds, it said you could redeem it for gold. So at any one time you could have gold sovereigns, you could trade it for gold ounces, and you could actually trade with gold. When the world changed, when Nixon took the world off the gold standard, the American dollar bill was basically the reserve currency for the world because it had to be backed by gold, and that's where you got the saying it was as good as gold. Now, when they decided to take us off the gold standard, means that the American dollar bill was no longer backed by gold, and therefore everybody's currency in the world that was using the US dollar as reserve currency also no longer backed by gold. The benefit of that was it gave the world the opportunity to just print credit at will. It's not like the government had to have the same amount of dollars in gold in their vaults. They could just print out as much money as possible. Now, the problem with that is the more dollars you create, it makes things worth more because there's more dollars out there chasing the same commodity. If there was no money in the world whatsoever and there was only 1 ounce of silver to back it, this ounce of silver will be worth trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. But that's not the case. There's now trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars, and it's the opposite. It's the reverse. It's making everything dearer.
Okay, so this is a quick lesson in economics that you've given us. Basically, you're saying the more currency is printed chasing the same amount of goods, it's going to lead to inflation.
It leads to inflation.
Yeah, which is what we see. So, folks, have you noticed that the price of your gasoline's gone up? The price of food's gone up? The cost of living's gone up? And when people sort of scratch their heads and say, but I'm very careful with the way I save and budget for my expenses, how can they, let's cut to the chase, how can they just get out of the system so that they don't play that game anymore where they are almost like a victim of circumstances?
Okay, the first thing you got on our work out first is wherever you are in the world, whether it's America, Australia, Europe, first thing you got to work out is what your inflation rate is. Now, if the government tells you your inflation rate is 5% like they do here in Australia, I said to my parents, and I asked them the same question, what's the inflation rate? And they told me about 5%. And I said, well, if it's 5%, how come everything doubles every 10 years? And they gave me a blank look on their face. I said, well, that means that the inflation rate is 10% a year. So if you're getting 10% inflation and you've got $100,000 in the bank, okay, and you're getting only 6% interest and the inflation rate is 10%, your money is losing its buying power by 4% every year. The difference between 10 and 6 is 4%.
You're going backwards.
So you're going backwards. So if you leave $100,000 in the bank for 10 years, 10 years from now it would only have the same buying power of $60,000 today. So the government is actually literally silent taxing you. They're taking away from your money. It's losing its value. Whereas gold and silver, like here's an ounce of gold over the last 10 years has increased 500% in 10 years. That's 50% a year. If you can find me a bank that makes you 50% a year on your money, I'd like to know about it. So that's how much money they've created in the last 10 years.
So just put it up to the camera because that is a solid.
That's a 1 ounce. That's a 1 ounce bar of gold.
And that